Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, it is that night of the week again. The work week is done. SmackDown is over. It's Friday night. It's 10 p.m. I'm Dan Marty.
And me, I'm John Cena Sr.
Baby, the Fabo Pop is in stock. Hit us up, BW at BostonWrestling.com. Our brand new Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays is now. Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm Mr. USA WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas.
The road to WrestleMania has begun. Wrestling fans are looking to add to their man caves. You got to see what we have in the eBay store.
Check it out.
Support Wrestling Insiders in-studio shoot interviews on eBay with this brand new personally autographed WWE Royal Rumble 2021 11x14 poster signed by WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns, his advocate Paul Heyman, and Kevin Owens. Reigns and Owens battled for the Universal title in a last standing match January 31st in the Thunderdome in Tampa. This limited edition collector's poster is number 31 of only 50 produced. Comes with WWE authentication hologram on the poster itself. Also comes with an on-air shout-out from WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas and a bonus autographed 8x10 photo. Get this rare, awesome collectible for your man cave and help keep wrestling legends working now. Boston Wrestling Sports and the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE, NXT, and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
All that news and more, Johnny. Here we are. We made it through the month of March. It's finally April. Can you believe that?
Well, you know what? Time flies when you're having fun, and we have nothing but fun and honest opinions.
And you know what? It's not just any Fabulous Friday, Johnny. It is Good Friday.
Amen.
It is one of your favorite weekends of the year, with Easter coming up on Sunday. For the fans at home that may not know, why is Easter such a important day to you?
Well, it's the day that Jesus rose from the dead, really, and saved the world, saved the souls like me and others around me. It's a beautiful day. It has great meaning. It offers great hope to those of us and those that want to believe and do believe. It's the Christian holiday. It's a great day. It's a wonderful day. It's a beautiful day.
And did you know that your good friend Betty Skolland actually witnessed it?
Witnessed what?
The resurrection.
Really?
She was around for it back then, yeah.
Oh.
She's had a long run.
I understand she's the one that moved the stone?
Oh, wrestling fans, the clock is ticking. We are now just 8 days away from the first of two nights at WrestleMania. But, Johnny, next Friday we had planned on kind of breaking down the big event more, as things tend to happen the week of the event. But we're now just literally a few days away from Both the 2020 and 2021 classes of the WWE Hall of Fame being inducted this coming Tuesday night, making for at least 8 straight days of WWE television for those that wish to enjoy it. That is going to be an interesting endeavor. I'm not even sure where it is going to be. No fans are going to be allowed, Johnny. What do you think of the concept of a fanless Hall of Fame induction?
You know what? If they don't allow the fans to attend, I think it's a disservice to those who are being inducted. I think that it's time now they rethink the process because it is a fan thing. It's not only for those people, men and women, who have earned their right and the privilege to be noticed beyond everyone else into that Hall of Fame. And it should be enjoyed by everyone. If you don't have fans there and you don't have people, it's kind of like watching a wrestling match without anybody there. It kind of like it's like a bad bottle of Fabo Pop. If it's not right, it goes flat.
Well, I actually agree with you 110% on that, Johnny. I think it does a disservice to those great individuals. Well, most of the individuals are great that are being inducted, but the events can be a little long in the tooth, and to induct 2 classes in one night, I also think is a mistake.
That is not going to work at all. You cannot do that because even though they have now reduced the time that each inductee can make his or her speech, telling why and how they feel and how they got where they were and what they went through to get there and what they promoted and gave to the business, meaning their bodies, their lives, their time for fan appreciation. That's all lost. You can't do it. The attention span of the average person, because I do a lot of teaching and public speaking, is about 8 minutes. 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
You're going to double this. I'm going to tell you something. You know what? I don't know. You weren't there. Or maybe you were when they inducted Mr. T.
Oh, I remember seeing your head in the audience because you were just about dead center. I wish I was there. That was the night Percy was inducted.
Yep. And then you know what? That's how it's gonna be. Nothing against Mr. T, but until you think about the whole process, one induction, you're asking me to sit there for 2. Good luck. Good luck. I'm going to tell you, as a fan, as a person involved in the business, I'm going to tell you something right now. That's going to be another Fabo Pop that's going to go flat.
Do you think they would have been better off to hold off until maybe next year and just hit the pause button for a little bit? I don't think there's a law that says they have to have a class every year.
Well, you know what? I think you might have hit the nail on the head. Pause button is something that's a very useful tool. We know who's going to be inducted. We know who they are. Why not do an honorary induction and then do a full induction when the fans can be there to recognize those individuals that are being inducted into the Hall of Fame? Sometimes penny wise and pound foolish. I guess that's the only word I can use.
A great analogy. It really is a great analogy. There are a lot of fans that think the Hall of Fame is a bit much, a bit long. I actually tend to enjoy it, even if I think the ceremonies can go a little long. I think I would try and limit it to 6 inductions per class. And I've told you what I thought about the Warrior Award. Don't think that should take place during a Wrestling Hall of Fame. I think it should be maybe something on a special edition of Raw or another TV show, maybe to make a particular episode of TV a little more special. I don't think a Warrior Award during a very lengthy Hall of Fame of wrestling ceremony is the proper place for it. Again, one man's opinion. Everyone is entitled to their own. I'm sorry?
No, we can make that 2 opinions. I happen to agree with you on that.
Even though they had a wonderful individual inducted when they were in New York City with the Warrior Award. Back in 2019, the last time fans were allowed to enjoy the Hall of Fame ceremony in person, and that was at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. It took us nearly 2 hours to go 6 miles to the hotel in Newark, but that's a different story for a different time. The lovely Sue Aitchison, someone that deserves to be honored in the WWE Hall of Fame, Warrior Award, or otherwise, but just it's almost unfair to those recipients that go out to a group of fans that have really no idea who they are, what they're there for. I remember the poor guy I can't even remember his name, but the year they were in Orlando, he was in a wheelchair and he had some kind of a breathing device hooked up to him, and you really couldn't hear him or understand him. And I hate to say it, but the fans really weren't all that interested in it. You know what I mean? Because again, nothing against what that man went through and his trials and tribulations, but just it had nothing to do with the pro wrestling aspect of what the event was, which is a Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, you know?
I would concur with 100%. I think that the Warrior Award is a special award by itself.
Right.
And that award should be done, and I happen to agree with you this time, on a special occasion, another pay-per-view, even if they did a Warrior Night, a wrestling show, a Warrior Night, special matches, special things. And at that point, do the Warrior Award. It's something that needs to be by itself. It's like, you scramble eggs and you throw something in there that doesn't belong.
Mhm.
And so it tastes terrible. And unfortunately, they hit the pause button when they do that Warrior Award. Let's keep the continuity the way it belongs, and then take the Warrior Award. And it's a memory of a great human being, a person that worked. He did what he did. God bless him. I know you have a different opinion, but I mean, we all have our goods and bads.
I think his online mocking of Bobby Heenan dying of cancer is going to come back to bite them at some point. But again, that's just my opinion.
I agree with you 100% on that one also. But again, I'm with you. That's a separate award. It's a special award. It's kind of like you've got the Emmys and the Academy Award.
Yeah.
The Academy Award is the Hall of Fame.
And maybe it might be fun for Johnny, an idea that just popped in my head, is maybe on a night when they do like the Slammy Awards.
Yep. That's a perfect example.
You know what I mean? Just as they do different Slammy Awards in between matches on a 3-hour Raw or whatever it might be, do a special, instead of Match of the Year, Wrestler of the Year, Moment of the Year, and so on, you have the Warrior Award of the Year. And, I think that would be better, and I think it would be better received than interrupting the Wrestling Hall of Fame, which is nothing but speeches and no action to begin with.
Well, that is the Academy Award of the WWE. The Hall of Fame is that big award that every actor or actress hopes to get someday, that Oscar. And that's exactly what the Hall of Fame is. You receive the Oscar, the highest award you can get in your business. The Warrior Award is a separate entity unto itself. You can't mix apples and oranges. It doesn't work.
Well, we agree, Johnny. The fans, they wanted your input on the inductees. Maybe we only know a few, as of the time we're taping this, because we've had to try and speed the process up a little bit and pre-tape things where we're getting ready to go to Tampa and you're out in Honolulu or wherever in Hawaii you're hanging out right now. Thus far, in one that really blew my mind, Johnny, usually they announce the first inductee of the year is usually the main event, the biggest one. For the class of 2021, the first one announced was Molly Holly.
Molly holds a special place in my heart. Miss Greenwald is a wonderful, wonderful person. She is a tremendous human being. And I think that she's deserving of that award for what she contributed for her time when she was there and what she gave of herself. A lot of concussions, a lot of pain. She did a great job entertaining the people. And so everybody deserves their just reward. So Nora, I think, deserves it 100%. Others may have a different opinion, but when you think about and you look back on those female wrestlers and individuals of her day and time, think about who else you would put in her place, who else might deserve it. And there may be others. I'm not saying there aren't, but Nora is certainly, Molly Holly is certainly deserving of that award. She deserves that Academy Award.
Well, Johnny, I hate to say it, but I agree with your thoughts as far as the human being goes, but as far as the body of work goes and the length of the career goes, I disagree with you. I don't think there was really anything Hall of Fame worthy that she did. I think it's one of those things where, they want to be PC and they try and have a woman inducted every year now. And, they really have to stretch it to try and be able to hit that quota. And I think they're certainly stretching with Molly Holly. She was a former women's champion. As far as in-ring credibility went during that era, she was, without a doubt, one of the best, because most of them were really bad. But I don't see Hall of Good, sure, but Hall of Fame, no.
Well, there we again. We can agree to disagree, but still be friends.
What about a man that sometimes you remind me of, the second announced for the class of 2021, a man that rocked the boat, a man that rocked the entire industry back in 1995, talking about Eazy-E, Eric Bischoff.
You know, I kind of chuckle, and I shouldn't, because I think a lot of Eric Bischoff. I really do. There's a man that gave, and I'm going to use this, and I hope nobody gets angry at me. He gave Vince a run for his money. But see, there again, you have the hero and the villain. And now you take this man and elevate him to Academy Award status. And I sit back, and maybe you disagree with me, but the first thing that comes to my mind is, why?
Really?
Yeah, why? When you went to war, he really went to war. He really spoiled the product. Coming out with the results before they taped it. He gave those on TV.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, stop and think about this. So did he give a lot to this business? I will never take one thing away from Eric Bischoff. There's a man that did what he had to do. He proved he could do it. He succeeded in what he did or has done. But he became one of the greatest enemies of WWE. If you remember those battles, I think that's what increased the ratings. But here's the man that you sit back and say, all right. Once again, we say, is there anybody else in line more deserving?
Well, I got to say, Johnny, again, you and I disagree big time on this one. I think the reason how professional wrestling elevated itself in the late 90s is a result of Eric Bischoff. WWF was dead on arrival when Nitro launched in 1995. WWF blamed the ridiculous steroid trial that Vince McMahon was subject to. But that ended a year and a half before Nitro launched. There was time to recoup and recover and come up with a better product for WWF television. Bischoff reinvented the wheel. Maybe he kind of overspoiled it by presenting nothing but competitive star versus star matches. I kind of miss enhancement matches from time to time just to try and get personalities and new wrestlers and wrestlers' moves and wrestlers' finishing moves over. I kind of miss those days. But what he did, you can't argue. It was nothing but success. And he didn't just knock on Vince's door. He kicked WWF's ass from 1996 through 1998. The numbers spoke for themselves. So
to be the devil's advocate.
Sure.
And I still want to say this. I think the world of Eric Bischoff.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I think he proved his point. He showed that he could do it, but the money behind him was Ted Turner, and that's another advantage.
Sure.
Good thing. Eric used it to his advantage. He did what he had to do to succeed, and he did it very, very, very well. And I guess I eat my own words. At one point, Vince McMahon asked him to come back.
And also, you talk about Ted Turner's money. Sure, you're 100% right about that. He did have access to Ted Turner's money. But for the 6 previous years before Nitro launched, those same people that were in charge of the company at different points had access to Ted Turner's money, and they didn't make much of a success with Ted Turner's money. Bischoff did.
I don't disagree with that at all. And again, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve the Oscar. And again, you know what? Well-deserved, well-placed. But again, I'm sitting back and I'm saying, okay, we take an enemy and we make him a friend and we give him an award. And I'm being sarcastic, if you know what I'm trying to say. I'm not against the award. I think Eric is more than deserving of the award. But then again, let's go back to Molly Holly. Who else would you put in Eric Bischoff's place?
For what he contributed to the business?
Well,
I mean,
I
I
think
could think of different NWA promoters that certainly deserve a spot in the Hall of Fame. I don't think WWE will ever put them in just
no.
because, they're archaic and they're
Yep.
looking for people that, people of this generation would have some familiarity with. You know what I mean? They'd be
Yeah.
familiar with them on some level.
Yeah.
And,
I
if you're
guess
going to go back to Paul Bosch down in Houston or Don Owens in Portland, I don't think there are too many
No.
fans nowadays that would have any idea who we're talking about right now. Bischoff
Well-
with WCW, the Monday Night War, they've monetized it on DVD. They've come up with a great series of specials on WWE Network. Bischoff came back as the general manager of Raw from 2002 to 2005. And I think very underrated as far as his performance went as an on-air character as the general manager. I thought he was absolutely tremendous.
Again, I would have to agree with you.
How many characters can you say made out with both Stephanie McMahon and Linda McMahon on television?
Okay, you win. You win.
He also, and what I got a chuckle out of on one of a clip I came across online on one of his podcasts, he was asked by, I think it's Conrad Thompson that co-hosts it with him, who he thought the sexier of the two was. And he actually said Linda. He said there's something very sexual about Linda once you get up close and personal to her. So I don't know.
I'm not going to touch that line. I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to sit back and say, okay. And I will say, I guess how I have to twist around and say that Eric Bischoff perhaps and does deserve, not perhaps, he does deserve the Academy Award only because of his contribution to the professional wrestling industry. There is absolutely no question about that. I would never take that away from him. And again, I reiterate my same words that I said before. I have nothing but respect for that man. He is a credit to the business. He proved what the business can do. And I think if he had the opportunity, he could probably show it again. I guess I'm going to have to eat my own words.
Well, and you know what? I wonder deep down, I don't know if he'd ever admit it, but if Vince has a great respect for what Bischoff did, even though it led to the Monday Night Wars, you know what Bischoff did, other than the fact that it wasn't money out of pocket, was on par with what Vince did a little more than 10 years earlier when he destroyed the territories by taking WWF and going national with it, cherry-picking the top stars from each different territory and, kind of a similar path for both men. Again, he had the backing of Turner, while Vince, basically, when he bought the company, had the bank account of what was in it from Vince McMahon Sr. and so on's company. So interesting paths and in some ways not all that different, which is why I find they're very interesting.
I wait for the fan reaction.
Well, we're not going to get to see that because unless it's the Thunderdome where they have the piped-in crowd, I think it's going to be a rather silent ceremony.
Yeah, I think you're right. And again, Eric Bischoff deserves the accolades of the professional wrestling business. How they choose people for the Hall of Fame, I don't know how that works.
Very, very interesting. I'd love to be sitting on those meetings, but
Yep. I really have to sit back and say to myself, okay, and then I stop. I certainly hope, and I'm sure somewhere down the line, Pat Patterson will be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
well, he already
again.
was, Johnny.
Yep, I know he is, but there's a man that contributed a tremendous amount to the industry. If there's ever a
Why
second way
would he
to
be?
get him,
Why should he be inducted again?
give him again, Patty. I think
No.
you know what? God rest his soul. I just have a great fond liking for Pat Patterson, and there's a guy that earned it. He's another Oscar nominee, and he won. But let's see what happens. I think Bischoff again. I think it's well deserved. Again, I have that why question. Why? That's all.
And what about the third man? It was announced today to show you when we're taping, and I imagine there'll probably be at least one or if not at least two more inductees, but a longtime veteran of the company under different aliases. The one that took off the most certainly was Kane.
See, now there again, I think there's a man that deserves the Oscar.
I think he deserved the main event billing, not Molly Holly, but
Well, but he deserves it. I mean, take a look at what he did to get where he was and is. look at that stupid character they put that poor man in, Ivan Yankum.
Isaac Yankum, DDS.
God. Oh, and he did it.
And
then when he was,
another one that fans often forget about is he was New Diesel. I don't know if you remember that. When Kevin Nash left, they recast the character of Diesel with Glenn Jacobs portraying him, which didn't last very long.
Jacobs, Glenn is a tremendous human being. Very out, he's just got a good brain there. He understands this business. He's a great human being. He gave a lot to this business. Look what he sacrificed. I mean, some of those matches were crazy. Him and Taker with fire matches,
Inferno matches.
This guy deserves it. There's an Oscar nominee. Pass it on. Congratulations, Glenn Jacobs.
All right, wrestling fans, we're going to take a brief timeout. When we come back, we're going to look at who WWE at least wanted to induct last year that we'll maybe see this year. If you read between the lines, we'll be back after this brief timeout.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
MJ in the house.
Future WWE Hall of Famer, mind you. Let me tell you this.
I'm not in there yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
But you will be.
Yeah, I will.
You know Sean wants to be the first three-timer.
Three-timer,
yeah.
yeah.
There you go. Let me tell you, you enjoy the in-studio shoot interviews 4 times a week. It isn't cheap to put these productions together, folks. We need your
No,
help.
because he got to pay me.
Okay. Coronavirus has killed the nightlife in a lot of ways. We are night owls, Marty and I, but that's a different story for a different time. One way you can help is to check out the great merchandise we have in the Boston Wrestling eBay store. It is perfect for any wrestling man cave or any collection.
That's right. Check it out.
Support Wrestling Insiders and keep wrestling legends working on eBay. At Survivor Series, it was champion versus champion as WWE champion Drew McIntyre battled Universal champion Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman. Get this 11x14 poster autographed by all 3 men. Limited edition, number 42 of only 50, with authentication hologram on the back of the poster itself. Comes with a mystery autographed 8x10 photo and an on-air shout-out from WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas on Wrestling Insiders at your house. Get it now. All right, Johnny, unbelievable. We gave a little teaser before the commercial break. As news is breaking again right around the time we're taping this, that the main event inductee of the class of 2020 Hall of Fame ceremony is out due to commitments of some kind, whether it be Hollywood or life, who knows? But Big Dave Batista will not be inducted in the Hall of Fame this year. He can't make it.
That's a shame. It really is. Because Dave Batista is another individual, and I had a chance to meet Dave. What a great human being. I remember when he was down there at OVW, when he played Leviathan. Or his character was Leviathan.
That goes way back, yep. No, down on OVW.
That's where I first met Dave Batista. And what a tremendous human being. A person that gave his all to the business. There's no question that he's deserving of it. It's just too bad that they couldn't do something remote with Dave before, pre-tape it or whatever. I think it's a disservice. Because he is so deserving.
Well, I think it's great that, they're not going to do it at all. So hopefully it's going to take place at a future year when the fans will be able to enjoy it in person. I think he'll get a great reaction.
There's no question. There's a man that, along with Glenn Jacobs and the others that are being inducted, deserves a standing ovation. There's a guy that really gave his all, like Glenn did, the same thing, to the fans. He worked for the fans.
Well, Johnny, what about this one? And I'm not a big fan of it. I don't know about you. I don't think we've ever discussed it, but little double dipping going on as the NWO is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Sean Waltman, all for the second time. Do you see the need for it?
No. We just talked about a friend who couldn't get inducted. Why induct him for the second time? Because he was a tag team champion. He did all this stuff, and we don't want to do that. Forget it. Goodbye. See you later. You know what? Each of these men already holds a ring.
Do you think who's going to be the first? Is Shawn Michaels going to be the first to get 3 with Marty Jannetty as the Rockers, or is H going to be the first to get 3 with Evolution when they induct them as a faction down the road? I have a feeling it's coming. And I can
Well,
tell by that sigh, I think you kind of agree with me.
yeah, I do. I do. I do.
I mean, you know what? In rock and roll, I mean, can't people be inducted more than once, though, if they're in different bands?
Well, see, that's redundancy.
Yeah.
If that's your plan, and I think you're talking about now individual induction, tag team induction, NWO induction. Sometimes it gets a little testy. I guess that's the only word I know how to use. A little testy. Each one of these men, I have nothing but respect for. Each one of these men. I've worked with Sean Waltman. I worked with Diesel. I never, ever had the opportunity to work with the great Hulk Hogan. I think the world of Terry Bollea. Terry is an outstanding individual. He's given a lot to the business. I guess here's where I get in trouble with my thoughts again. They pulled him out of the Hall of Fame.
And now they put him back in and they're giving him another one.
Yeah, well, see, I'm going to stop before I get in real trouble here.
Why is that, Johnny?
Because, you know what? I think sometimes a little bit said is enough rather than to elaborate and then just put mud all over the place. It doesn't make sense. I'm just using an analogy of we did all of this. We said, okay, you said this, you did this 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and we're going to pull you right out. No more. Bye. We don't even recognize you. And now look what's happened.
Interesting how it works out.
It sure does. It sure does. And once again, nothing against anybody. I think it's foolish, in my opinion, to hold somebody liable for something they did 20 years ago when they were immature or maybe said something wrong when they shouldn't have said it. Believe me, I do not like people using derogatory terminology or making fun of a race or a person, a color or a creed, a religion. It's despicable. It shouldn't be done. But I don't believe that you should say, okay, you're booted, and now hip, hip, hooray, we're waving the flag. Make up your mind.
Interesting thoughts, Fabo. What about a man that really only had one match, and it was in NXT, not even in WWE, certainly a Hall of Fame talent, but kind of a surprise inductee, Jushin Thunder Liger. I don't know what the speech will consist of. I'm not sure how strong the English is, but that could make for one of the shortest speeches.
I watched that man work many a time. And again, a great athlete. I mean, he really brought the fans to their feet using that lucha libre style wrestling and what he did. I don't know. I what do I say except that he deserves the credit. He paid his dues.
Yeah, he and Brian Pillman had some true classics in WCW in the early 90s.
Yep. I don't know. I guess I'm at a loss for words on this one.
All right. Well, you might not be the only one. What about the late, great British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith, a man that contributed a lot during many stints in WWE, WWF? You think it'll lead to his son finally getting not only a spot in WWE, but a solid spot in WWE? Now that his son Harry, he's getting a little long in the tooth. He's not much younger than me.
You know what? I'm only going to say this. Age does not make a difference. You know, Bill Dundee is 77, I believe. Still working the ring. Still doing shows.
Well, in another 20 years, we still might see you in the ring. Who knows if that's the case?
Listen, my friend, I enjoy it every single time I'm allowed to perform, to work with these young men and women, with WWE, with anyone. I think it's wonderful. So age is no barrier to me. And I hope he does get a slot. I really do.
Great size, great talent. But again, where WWE is trying to go young, where they realize so many of their main crew right now is pushing 40, if not already there, I think that works against him a little bit. I think maybe he's waited too long to make the jump to go to WWE, if indeed that's his destination in 2021.
Well, there again, I kind of look at this as you may have the age factor, but you bring something with you when you come, and that's knowledge. And if the young men and women today will not take advantage of what's in front of them, shame on you.
And a legacy.
Yeah, even the legacy. Just think of what he has in terms of knowledge of the business, in terms of what he's been through to get where he is. The young men and women should listen to these older wrestlers, these older people in the business, because they've been through it. You know, it's sad when you're backstage with some of these young guys or women, and you try to give them a pointer, and no, I'm fine. I don't need to hear that. You know, the guys I look at, the women I look at, is when we have a special, say Tony Atlas, for example, is backstage. And, you know, Tony will try to give some pointers, and they'll just turn around and go, yeah, thanks, and walk away. Man, oh, man, that's an encyclopedia.
Right.
Why would you
let it go to waste? Are you there, Johnny? Oh.
I'm still here.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Anytime you have a chance to pick the brain of a veteran that has several decades of experience in the industry, I think that just shows maybe you don't belong in it. But again, that's one man's opinion.
Ric Flair's still going. And I'll bet you if Rick was in better health, I'll bet you that man would still be in the ring, and he'd still be wooing them and bringing them to their feet.
I bet you he'd love to right now.
Well, you know what? And God bless Ric Flair. I've worked several shows with Rick. I've taken the figure 4 from him, and I'm going to tell you something. What a tremendous human being. There's a man that deserves everything he has in terms of recognition, in terms of that Oscar. He's paid his dues 100 times over.
All right.
And if you don't take advantage of Rick or anybody else you're working with, shame on you, because they bring knowledge. They bring a lot with them.
2 more, Johnny, the final 2. This pair, it blows me away, but interested in your thoughts on the Bella twins being Hall of Fame bound this Tuesday night.
There you go.
Well, Johnny, you know, I
have nothing against them. Nothing against them, but you made a comment earlier about Molly Holly. I mean,
Molly Holly deserves to be in about 6 times before the Bellas are in once. They contributed nothing but poor promos, poor skits, poor matches, poor everything.
I think you said it all.
They married well. I don't know if that puts you in the Hall of Fame. The mother married well. One of them tried to marry well. We won't go there. You know, and I really don't know them as human beings, but just as far as what they contributed to wrestling, to me, nothing but a turn off. Everything they did was fake looking, lousy looking. Other than their little dance to the ring, which I'm sure entertained many males. But you know what? There's a lot of ways you can get female entertainment of the physical variety in 20 or whatever year you might be talking about. And to me, they contributed nothing positive during their entire run. And that's nothing personal. That's just my look at the 2 characters, Brie and Nikki Bella. They contributed nothing of any interest that any fan enjoyed. Or for every one fan that enjoyed it, there are many millions and millions that have gone by the wayside that no longer watch the industry anymore, our great, great industry, because of garbage like that. Fake-looking women's wrestling that looks like it wouldn't crack an egg, amongst other things. But again, to me, they contributed nothing. Nothing.
Well,
nothing.
I will say this. On the human side, outside of the business, you couldn't ask for better people. From mom to the girls, just good, decent human beings. Kind, generous, very good human beings. In the ring, I think there's a different persona. And you have to remember that when the Bella twins came in, it was the TNA era.
No, yeah.
You know, they brought that to the ring. And that's what you saw. And that's what people got all googly-eyed and all, special about. They were
after 10 years, though, you'd think there'd be that room to improve a little bit. You know what I mean?
No, I understand what you're saying. And with all of us, I think the thing that people fail to realize, there's a time to stay and there's a time to go. Why not leave at the high point?
Oh, and now they're talking about they want to come back for the next 2 WrestleManias and challenge for the women's tag team titles. Just go. Go make your wine. Go write your books. Go do your reality shows. Just stay away from a wrestling ring. No one wants to see it. Nobody cares. It's a discredit to the other women that actually do try and put together physical, credible wrestling matches. Again, one man's opinion, but I think there's a lot that agree with me.
Well, I would think that there's a place for them, maybe at NXT, bringing up the younger women.
Oh,
Tips.
that's
Well,
we talked before about them not having enough quality women on the main roster to begin with. You think sending down 2 women that were atrocious to try and help them would be a good thing?
Well, they do have some knowledge of the business. They understand.
They might have some knowledge of they certainly know how to play the business. That's for sure. That'd be like someone telling someone to go take a shower, and inside the bucket of water is a pile of dog shit.
I hear you. No, I hear you. You know what? I have to sit back and say to myself, how do we select the inductees?
Well, last but not least, Johnny, I know I'm probably going to get a few zingers online from this one due to my personal opinion. I'm interested in yours due to the interactions you've had with even here in this very studio. John Bradshaw Layfield, the former world champion, longest reigning champion in SmackDown history.
Too late, too soon. I think he should have been inducted way before now.
You think they waited too long?
Yeah, I think this man, I have nothing but respect for John Bradshaw Layfield. I really and truly have nothing but good words for that man. He played it to the 10th degree. He gave a lot to this business, a lot of knowledge. He knew the good from the bad. He worked hard. He showed people what it meant to be a professional wrestler. He portrayed the character he should have played. I mean, you just knew when you heard that when he came out in his little Cadillac with the horns on the front. I mean, stop and look at what he did and how he did it.
And he reinvented himself when he was getting a little long in the tooth. You know what I mean? For a long
Sure
time,
did.
he was a cowboy as Justin Hawk Bradshaw, and then when he teamed with Barry Windham as the New Blackjacks, then he went on to team with Ron Simmons and the Acolytes, the APA, who were, they'd beat people up for money. And then there was I remember it came when I was injured. I was in the hospital watching, and I just remember looking at the television screen saying, who the hell is this guy with the cowboy hat on? And it turned out it was a refurbished John Bradshaw Layfield, now playing off of his success in the stock market, is a big money man in WWE, wheeling and dealing, putting right into a main event feud with Eddie Guerrero that it didn't exactly do big numbers at the box office, but some bloody classics between the two. So those are some of my favorite Eddie Guerrero matches that he had with John Layfield.
He had some great matches with John Cena too. And I have
Think
nothing.
of what he did to you in the loading dock in this studio, pouring the energy drinks down your throat.
I understand that, but you have to also. We had a wonderful time. Remember, professional wrestling is a story. I think we told the story well. I loved working with John Bradshaw Layfield that day. I remember that. We'll never forget it. What a gentleman! What a smart man!
Very smart man.
He has it all, and he deserves that Academy Award. Accolades. There's another man. If I were there and were allowed to be there, I'd be on my feet for this man. I watched him work. Eddie Guerrero, outstanding matches. And I watched the matches with he and John, and I have to tell you,
WrestleMania 21.
Yep, I've got to tell you something. What a gentleman! What a performer! What a performer. I would have thought he'd have been in before now.
Well, he was insulted that he and John didn't go on last, knowing that John would become the face of WWE as time went on, and he looked like he was 110% right. I do want to say this before we go, Johnny. For those, there's a lot of people that will knock JBL. There's a lot of things that have been written about JBL online or said in different shoot interviews. Two things I think folks should keep in mind. If they look up Beyond Rugby Bermuda, it is a charity that John has started in Bermuda that helps at-risk and poor children not only have access to play sports, but actually feed them lunch every day. And in addition to the work he's done in his post-wrestling career, if you enjoy the show called Tribute to the Troops, where WWE goes out of its way at one point actually going over to war zones to entertain the troops. Now they do it more on the home front. The idea of Tribute to the Troops came from John Bradshaw Layfield. So for those that like to focus on the negative or the things that are said in shoot interviews like that, you're more than welcome to. I like to remind folks of the John Layfield that I know that has put a lot of goodwill into the world.
Indeed, indeed. He was the first one to talk about tribute to the troops. And again, nothing but accolades. Just look at what this man has done and he's accomplished. And I think fans miss something, that he's giving back. They don't see that. You know, fans don't know the person, they don't know the individual, and they fail sometimes to look at those things. And sometimes fans have nothing to do. And I said this when you and I did that little broadcast when we watched the Royal Rumble. You know, you got nothing better to do than sit in your mom's basement and type out this crap. You know, half of them don't even know what they're talking about.
Well, and again, sometimes people just believe everything they read on the internet to be true. You know, John came from an era when there were a lot of men in professional wrestling. You had to be a man's man to make it in professional wrestling. And you know what? That might not translate 100% to what it's like in 2021. I'll say maybe that to be true. But at the same time, again, tribute to the troops came from that man's mind when he went overseas, not because he was forced to, because he wanted to when he was injured at one point. And again, Beyond Rugby Bermuda, we raised some money for it here in Boston Wrestling in the MWF. He does some great work over in Bermuda, trying to help kids that don't have the money to play sports and don't have money to even eat lunch have a better life. So I tip my cap to him, and I don't even have a hat on right now.
Well, two hats are being tipped right now, yours and mine.
All right, Johnny, I know the weather in Hawaii is beautiful right now. It's the night is falling here, but it's still a chance for you to feel a little of that Pacific Ocean water. I will let you go. We'll be back next Friday night. We're going to talk WrestleMania 37, preview the big event. It's going to be a happening.
It is indeed, my friend. I'm waiting. I can't wait.
All right, for John Cena Sr., I'm Dan Marati. We'll see you next Friday on Wrestling Insiders. Fabulous Fridays. Continue to check out the website for updates on Wrestle House. We'll be in Tampa Wednesday night all week with big superstars, autograph signings galore. Again, for John Cena Sr., I'm Dan Marati. Be well, stay healthy. We'll see you next Friday night. The World Wrestling Federation was live in Bristol, Connecticut, Wednesday, April the 2nd, 1980. In the opening contest, Tor Kamada beat Mike Flanagan. Jim Duggan victorious over Silvano Souza. Joe Crugnali defeated Fred Marzino via disqualification. Rene Goulet with the win over Baron Mikel Cicluna. And in the main event, the Wild Samoans beat Steve King and Rene Goulet. If you were in Bristol live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our world-renowned Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston Wrestling Sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.